Welcome back on Dynamod. Today I want to propose you a video about
creating scenic features. About this, I decided to use my other ones of this. Do you remember I made a unboxing about such that it's something related about Halloween? So I decided to use the equivalent of this because I bought other ones of this. I have 4 of these, so one will be like this, 2 others will be for such project and one other for one little project. So these pieces will be used to do something that I usually don't do, and it is to create the scenic features, because I want something related about the Osseboripo, so something related about ocean. So it's really quite nice. So for such project I want to do something related about like similar to this that I prepared. So I decided to create some bases about this. For the basis I use something that it's using some paper cards. For example, these you can use eventually if you think about throwing away something like this. So that are the pieces of the boxes that you can reuse for such project. Eventually the cards, the boxes from Amazon or so on. Eventually you have to think about having quite good thick so that it's useful to create something. So for example, to reinforce you can use eventually some vinaville or so on to prepare like this. So I want to create such base with the paper card, like this is for the base, but I want to do for the paper card one, and then I use some tin foil like this to create the molding, the possibility to have these parts around, so to create the volume about, and then I use the colors, so the snow vallejo, to prepare for the rest of the things, so to create the texture and so on, and also consolidate the things about, so that I can use the parts about the skeleton on it, so to have this. And about the base I'll use the deepening of the green scaffold. So it's something that I quite like as idea, and so I want to prepare in such way. So the only thing that now it's missing is to prepare the other models in different ways, so that it's possible to have the options. Obviously I have to cut off some parts and so on about, so that I can separate. Others will be able to have different options. For example, this thorax could be put in a way or separate and so on. So you have to decide how you want. So from these parts you can create how you think. You can use this as a toy or like something that it could be useful for your options eventually, because anyway it's really quite intriguing to reuse what you are not using to create something new. Because about dinosaurs, it's not so easy find something related about the scenic feature as I have idea about. I create them by myself. The next step is to study how you want to dismembering such one, because for example you have to remove such part, so you can use some cut, eventually some pinch and so on, some saw eventually, and so you have to decide how you want to separate, because for example I don't want this part to be like this here, so I have to try to separate using and study these parts. So I have to decide how are the pieces. I have to remove, for example, these parts and so on. I have to decide if I want them together or the positioning. So I had to make some adjustment based on my needing. For example, so these ones could be perfect, decided to be this or put together up or down. So I had to make some trying and value what I want. Also these bones I could simply cut here. I could keep the feet to put so that I can make some impression eventually. So it's something that it's really quite easy at the end, but you need a bit of analysis of what you need. For example, the tail could be used as this or could be tried to bend so that you can create something that then you can add and create another model, or you can cut apart and use this on here or put vertical so that you can have a sort of barrier. So there are a lot of things that you could decide. So it's simply in the way that you see and you try, so that because I have more than one, I could make some experiment with one that I have yet decided how to make it on the battlefield, on the scenic feature that I had in mind, and use the other one after that I studied the first one to really put the most difficult one eventually. So it's something that you have to adapt to what you want based on your ideas about. And here's some example of the cutting. Eventually, when you go to cut, don't worry about using some safety things, because, for example, some glue reinforced one, because it's not good that maybe you slip and risk to cut yourself, because maybe sometimes the plastic or the resin, it's really quite solid, and you risk to, like I say, break or let the knife move too fast suddenly. So not worry too much and bring some pieces. As you can see, I separated different parts like this, so you only need to decide how you want the pieces cut and so on, because based on this then you can try to create your own ones using part of this, combining the two parts together and using in some way or the other. So you have simply to work based on the needing that you have. The next step is to prepare the size of the base. I suggest you eventually to prepare multiple pieces. So for example, if you want these ones to be in the positioning so that they could be positioned together, close together, you could use the design so that when you design the line in the middle, then when you prepare everything, it's able to be put so that they can be combining these two parts perfectly. Otherwise, you simply can create the parts and then add the other one in a different ways. Anyway, you can also try to decide in multiple ways, so that, for example, you can put also this one. So here you have to decide, for example, this part I want to use for other projects too. So I'm quite interested about using this, but I'm more interested about using this so that it could be seen like this separately or so on. So it's up to you decide how you want, because then you have to modify everything together. And after that you prepare the base, you reinforce this, but it's based on the thickness of the material that you use as base itself. And so you decide how to proceed. It's simple, but it's something that it's better to do from the beginning. After that I cut the two pieces, I reinforce, in this case these ones, with other pieces, so that I use a bit of vinyl or some PVC like this to create something more solid to then put the pieces that I need. A little trick, I suggest you to bend a little on the opposite part of where you put the glue, because retreating drying the glue tend to bend everything. So if you make such efforts, when it's put, it's made that it's more flat, otherwise it will be not so great. So remember to make such effort. Then I use a bit of tinfoil to create the volume here, so that I can create this little mound, so that I don't have to use everything about the snow layer only to create the volume, and I only need to refine everything. Remember that you can use from both parts and so on, and you can, it's up to you decide how you want this to be created. If you want, for example, this to be planned so that you can have such things, or vertical so they have a bit more mound, it's up to you. You have to decide how you want to create such things. And so this is the menu effect. As you can see, you can work better or so on. And then it's not perfectly filled because I repeat, the snow valley, but you can use other things. It's my decision to use this to do this. I had to decide if to make other conversions on, but in this case I wanted to have the part ready so that I can decide how to paint and so on, if to modify it more, because I wanted to have the effect, because I'm studying such one as it is. Remember to wait that the glue is perfectly finished to dry, so that then you can fill the final parts without any problems. And I will do the same process for all the other pieces as I want and so on. Decide if to break them, to keep them together, the positioning of them. So it's up to you, decide how you want. And this is about these pieces, but you can apply such ideas on everything that you can think about. Because, for example, also this piece could be put it separately, so that you can use, for example, this with a separate base of 32mm one or 40mm one, so that you can use, for example, as a background for a miniature and so on. So it is not something that it's okay, I had to do this and it will be like that. You can change based on the idea that can be inspired for you by the pieces that you have. Be flexible when it's time to decide when to put the snow layer, because you could put, after that you put the parts about the tin foil, or keep the, for example, this as basic as it is, so that the snow layer itself is the glue, or that you use the tin foil, then to put the snow layer, and then to put the shiny feature and so on. So you can really personalize quite a lot based on what you need, and you don't have to have problems about following a set procedure or to use something different. It's up to you, decide how you want everything to be to your availability or to your desire. So it's time to use the snow layer as the texture. And so here we can find the final effect with the texture. As you can see, I changed completely how you can think about such pieces, and it's only a part of the model. So you can eventually decide to disassemble, combine, or so on, and in such way it's a sort of combining Scenic feature that is available. Obviously I had to paint the base. I use the deep ink of the green stuff wood because it's something that is perfect for such role. I had also other pieces to do, but this is the idea that I want to give. So as you can see, you can personalize a lot based on how you want the things to be, and you can create different things, because even with part of the skeleton you can have this. You can create even more textures, you can separate, you can rotate, you can do a lot of things based on what you need. For example, I made that some of these can be used as barriers, so even if I use half of the part, it's able to make such things. As you can see, this part I made that it's on this, so it's sort of obstacle and so on. Here we can find these ones that can be really combined in different ways and so on. Eventually you can find and think them in making them in the way that they can be climbing or so on. It's up to you decide how you want to make all the things, because the level of details that you need, it's up to you decide, because there are a lot of options that depends on your idea. This is my idea for having Scenic features, but you can make that there are climbable, as I said, or so on. It's up to you, and they can be really quite intriguing to realize what you need. So now it's time to paint the basing. Obviously the part about the model itself I can paint or not, now I'm not interested to do. Eventually in the future I can do. If you plan to change the color and so on, it's better to paint these ones before to prepare such bases, so that you can retain the color, and it's easier to reach also the other parts that are not so easy otherwise to paint if you think about. And so this is the final effect, painted the parts about the basin with the green stuff wood deep ink. And as you can see, we can have quite a lot of intriguing parts, so it's up to you to decide how you want everything to be put. You can make that it's make the models being put inside or other things, so it's not something that it's for sure. Remember that this is a piece of terrain that I created using a model that it was simply a skeleton, but combined with different efforts you can have something completely new and really quite interesting. It's only a part, but I create some intriguing Scenic features that could make a table even quite interesting. Obviously it's up to you decide how you want to combine, how you want to personalize and so on, but there are a lot of intriguing things that could be made, and some details can be really quite awesome if you think about, because in such way you can make that it seem more realistic. Obviously you can paint the bones, you can paint things, but this is simply an example of what you can have simply renewing something that you could think about and then put efforts on. and they are quite cheap material if you think was okay. I used the snow vallejo that it's not so cheap and you can use other things eventually, it's not the problem. But I use tinfoil and a skeleton that it's a toy technically, so it's really something intriguing, interesting and simple. So it's quite fun, and being someone that don't like usually to create scenic features, it's something that I'm quite glad to have realized.
I don't like to create scenic features, but for once I decided to create some. So,
From Dynamod, it's everything. I invite you to put a like on this video, to subscribe to the channel, to ring the bell, and to comment this video if you are interested in something about this video or you want to suggest me some arguments for other videos. I hope to see you again to the next time.